the whole cringe thing, right? People almost take him like not serious. That would be the biggest mistake you could ever make in your life. This is a kid that left Arizona as a 16-year-old kid to live in the Olympic Training Center and go through our training camp. He would wrestle with the adults, with the senior team, and then go wrestle for his high school in the matches. That dude's real, man. This dude has always been one of the hardest working people I've ever met. Now, with that being said, this cringe thing is a part of an act, right? But imagine being a 15-year-old kid and you're uprooted from Arizona and put into the Olympic program, right? Your high school isn't the same. He was this kid that was almost a protege that was getting groomed to be an Olympian. So of course that's going to come with some differences, right? So yeah, maybe the cringe thing is a little bit of an act, but that's part of who Henry is. He is a little bit different because his experiences are much different than everybody else.
Hello. What does a winner look like? How many of them are just handed everything? Henry Cejudo's parents arriving as undocumented immigrants, having to move nearly 50 times and being one among 7 children, thus naturally never sleeping alone in bed because he'd have to share a bed. What did life hand Henry Cejudo easily? When you actually listen to the man, he's so genuine, a very likable individual. Many people call him the king of cringe, but they don't really see past that surface he's putting on. They aren't considering how genuinely cared for he is by the people around him, vice versa, how much he genuinely cares for them.
Obviously, Captain Eric Albertson, who's always been by my side. I always give him attention, Joe, you know.
He was fighting in a division that could not garner the attention needed to be feasible from the company's perspective. Thus, he said, the fastest way to fix all of this was if everyone hated me. Thus, throwing his accomplishments in their face and becoming an object of hate to justify the existence of a whole division. That is what a hero does. His intentions may have been selfish, but under the mask of the king of cringe, his true nature also made them selfless. How many people do you know that could be that strong? Like George St. Pierre, he honored the discipline of karate by incorporating it into a style which formed the base for his movement, his footwork. With it, he stood even further as a stylistic outlier, attaining the edge he needed to defeat the pound-for-pound king at the time, the GOAT, Demetrious Johnson. From then on, it was TJ Dillashaw, Marlon Moraes. That fight was insane. And then, the greatest bantamweight of all time, Dominick Cruz. To me, Dominick is the greatest bantamweight of all time. And to me, I did see Dominick actively trying to rise to his feet. But regardless of the ref's decision, all of it appeared to make Henry Cejudo's resume even more polarizing. Let people debate the greatness of what Henry Cejudo has accomplished. Let their discourse echo his accomplishments even further. At the end of it, here's the truth that will always remain. Life handed Henry Cejudo nothing, easily. With a vision for himself, it was a consistent application of will and desire that's earned all he's manifested. If you consider why there's such a significant number of CEOs and celebrities who are also martial artists, the mental discipline, the calm confidence towards adversity, and the comfortable ability to handle aggression in a competitive environment, I guarantee you, with the resume Henry Cejudo has now, regardless of the direction he chooses, he will be successful. Because it's not his accomplishments on paper, it's the mindset he used to get those accomplishments. The variables in life are all different, but the philosophy that governs it is often much simpler than we are led on to believe. 90% of life is not your height. It is not your financial status. It is not your environment. Those things can infect you, but if this stays intact, it doesn't matter. It's all about showing up with the right mindset over and over again for a very long period of time. That's what we see from the messenger. Where there's a will, there's a way. And it is up to us to have the courage to consistently show up, regardless of what everyone else believes. Thank you, Henry. Your body of work always inspires me. That said, let's now take a closer glance at Henry Cejudo's bout versus the greatest bantamweight of all time. So, there was a good chance this bout was going to get stopped due to a headbutt, and Henry Cejudo recognized this. Every time Henry Cejudo met adversity, he found a way to fight through it. With Demetrious Johnson too, he had hurt his leg early on, thus swapped stances to compensate. With Marlon Moraes, he had an ankle injury going into the fight versus a devastating low and high kicker. Think about that. But again, making an adjustment during duress by weathering out the round before turning it on, trusting in himself and staying mentally composed was the key to his victory. Once again, this time his intention was to finish it quickly. You can see the karate in Henry Cejudo's stance, and intriguingly enough, it appeared to be very difficult for Dominick Cruz to deal with. The in and out moving, he's so quick he'd often avoid low kicks all the while remaining ready to counter. This naturally handed the ring generalship to Henry Cejudo for much of the fight, as you could feel the risks of recklessly extending, the risk of counter against commitment. Backed against the cage, Dom was feinting an uppercut to read Henry Cejudo's reaction, but it appears Henry Cejudo was just applying pressure as he waited, with head feints and slight level changes, applying this constant pressure. This here is what he wanted. He was waiting for the same duck that caused the bout to pause initially. Dominick Cruz feinted the uppercut thinking Henry Cejudo would leave his hips vulnerable, but instead, he ended up taking the bait. A perfectly timed knee clatters against chin, but Dom, he has never been finished in his entire career. He's still conscious. Nonetheless though, he's still forced to recover, regain himself, watching him form a base. Sure, there would be judges who would have taken note of the time, thus may have given Dominick Cruz the seconds he needed. But just like that, once again, Henry Cejudo established himself as a legend. The man is a conqueror. He has a knack for imposing his will on the world. Versus the greatest bantamweight of all time. Versus the greatest flyweight of all time. Holding 2 belts in 2 weight classes, and did I mention an Olympic gold medal? I don't know who can deny the status this man has earned. He may not be the GOAT of any respective division, but as the greatest combat sports athlete, there isn't a resume that could have been written any better.
He is the greatest combat athlete of all time.
Yes, Olympic champion, yes. I agree. Right now,
So everybody takes it as a joke.
You're an inspiration, Henry Cejudo, and I'm sure you've done so much for many other people, regardless of what many others know you as, the King of Cringe. I look forward to seeing you win, regardless of arena. If you'd like more from me, please subscribe and hit the notifications. Thank you if you did. It truly does mean a lot to me. Thank you. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. Let's go karma, and until next time, peace.
Wait, you're supposed to eat the chocolate, not the wrapper.
Right.